In 1946, a 12-year-old boy from Boston was sent to study at the Lubavitch Yeshiva in Brooklyn, New York. The Rebbe's son-in-law demonstrated warmth and sensitivity to the shy child away from his parents. After the Rebbe took the helm of Chabad Lubavitch in 1951, Yodel, now a young man, eagerly signed on to the Rebbe's program. In 1956, when the Rebbe selected a group of outstanding students for a special mission to Israel, Rabbi Krinsky was among them. A year later, on the day of his wedding to Devorah Kazanetz, the Rebbe assured his parents that the young man's future was, quote, on me. Indeed, a short time later, the Rebbe invited him to join his secretariat. Throughout his decades of service, he had the unique merit to spend countless hours alone with the Rebbe. Often serving as a conduit to the Shluchim, he steered the Kinnis HaShluchim, Kinnis HaShluchos, and the Sefer HaShluchim. His special connection with the Rebbetzin gave him the opportunity to report to her on the accomplishments of the Shluchim and Shluchos, and to witness the joy and pride it evoked. "58 years after accepting the Rebbe's offer, he continues to serve as a leading officer of Lubavitch's 3 central organizations and as a spokesman for the movement.
Rabbi Shalomesha Paltiel, the Rebbetzin Sarah Paltiel, the bright and guiding, shining stars with which this community has been blessed. Mr. Howard and Jordan Festerman, father and son, they must be doing something right. And I think I had the pleasure before in meeting the Eshes Chayil, the wife and mother of those 2 gentlemen. Fern Cohen, whom we heard just before, and Ben Landa. May God bless you with all the good things you wish for yourselves, specifically in your activity with the Chabad House here in Newport, Washington. I've never been here before, my first visit here, and I'm very, very impressed. Not with the building, but with the people. Walking before amongst most of you, there's an English expression that sounds the same in Yiddish. A gastef a while, zefef a mile. A guest for a while can see a mile. I could see clearly about the camaraderie amongst you and the affinity and the warmth, blatantly, and that's very impressive. In driving here tonight, I was thinking to myself, what can one say about a 25th anniversary? It is a significant milestone, of course. And it occurred to me that for some reason it's called the silver anniversary. Do you know how to say silver in Hebrew? It's kesef, right? Kesef. Kesef means money. It also means nichsef nichsafto. It also means love. They are one and the same. Depends how you use it. In this community, interestingly enough, this is a Lubavitcher function, Chabad Lubavitch, and it was mentioned before, I believe, by Mr. Cooper, that Lubavitch means the city of love. Luba means love, Vich is how you say city in Russian. So Lubavitch, for Lubavitch to have a silver anniversary is not coincidental. There must be something more to it. Each of you can search in yourselves what it might mean. Truth to be told, I didn't know what you want me to speak about tonight because nobody told me. Rabbi Baltil said, just show up. And then he puts me up here. But I would assume, based on that exaggerated introduction, that you would want to hear something from me about my relationship with the Lubavitcher Rebbe. As mentioned, when I was 12 years old in 1946, I was in Boston Public Latin School, and a while into the term, my parents, may they rest in peace, plucked me out of there and sent me to New York, to Brooklyn, to Lubavitch, to learn. I remember my teachers in Latin school were confounded. How can parents take a little aspiring kid out of Latin school? It's a Harvard Prep. It's one of the finest public high schools in the country, and not always too easy to get into, and send him to some obscure boarding school. They couldn't pronounce it when they were signing the papers of transfer. But it was the best decision. That parents could ever make for a child. It was difficult, it wasn't easy, but it was the right thing to do. I knew why my parents did that. I was mature enough to understand. And from the age of 12, the first day I set my foot in New York, I met the Rebbe. I was very enamored by him, by his demeanor. I can't begin to describe him, so I'm not going to start, but you can't imagine the impression he made on me. After 11 years of study, fast forward to 1957, just before I was married, he asked somebody to inquire from me what I planned to do after the wedding, and I told him to tell the Rebbe that I am a yeshiva bacha. I never held a job. I've been studying till this day, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. And then he was I assumed the Rebbe told him to ask me if I would agree to become a member of his secretariat. That was an offer you couldn't refuse. And I discussed it with my bride-to-be, and she readily agreed. Her father had the privilege of studying in the real city of Lubavitch, way back in the 1800s. And I knew him before. I didn't know he had a daughter, but it so happens that the Rebbe introduced us. And then the Rebbe officiated at a wedding in the summer of 1957. Well, a few weeks passed after the wedding, the Sheva Brachas, and it was before Rosh Hashanah, so after the Yom Tovim, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Shmini Atzeres, Simchas Seder, I showed up at the office, and I knew the Rebbe, as I said, we were very well before. I talked to him many times. I've asked him for advice, and I got it. But I found myself in the office, in his secretariat. It's quite a metamorphosis from being a student, when you know that this is your livelihood going forward. And this was the second day in the office. It was about 8 o'clock at night. I came back to do some night work. I was alone in the executive office, and there was the intercom buzzed. I know it was the Rebbe. I was the only one there, so I picked up. I thought if it would be older people than I would not have picked it up. I would have deferred. The Rebbe asked me if I could come into his office. I walked across the hall, knocked on his door, and he buzzed me in. And he asked me if I could wait a few minutes. He wants to give me something to do something with. He was sitting at his desk. He was obviously marking up a draft of a letter that he had dictated to one of the secretaries. It was in Hebrew, and it was typewritten, but the Rebbe was writing between the lines and in the margins. There were arrows going in every direction, directing what word or phrase should be inserted. Things were crossed out. After about 4 or 5 minutes, the Rebbe got up and handed it to me. And I knew the Rebbe. I was familiar with the Rebbe's handwriting. It was in Hebrew, but I couldn't make it out. But he told me, as he was handing it to me, it looked very labyrinthian, by the way, but I knew I thought I'd be able to get through it, but the Rebbe didn't rely on me. He says, don't be confused. Start from the beginning, word by word, and line by line. And in the end, you will see that it'll all work out. Now, I think it might mean to you what it meant to me. This was a chochmas achayim. He was giving me advice, to me personally, about life going forward. Married, the other in his office under his aegis, under his care and concern. And he just wanted me to know that there'll come times that things might be confusing. but don't be concerned. Just word by word, line by line. And the main thing, that in the end it'll all work out. It's very valuable guidance and very good fatherly advice, I would say. Now let's go forward many decades. I was riding with the Rebbe back from the Ohel to the headquarters. It was late in the afternoon. It was on a Tuesday, and the following Sunday was Lag BaOmer that we just celebrated about 2 weeks ago. And he asked me if it would be, and when Lag BaOmer came out on a Sunday, at Lubavitch World Headquarters, it was a real gala day. The streets of the Eastern Parkway would be closed. About 10,000 Jewish children from the tri-state area would come to 770 in the square, and the Rebbe would come out and stand there the whole time till the last child and teacher left, school children. And he wanted to know if it's possible to prepare a coin, to create a coin that he could give to each and every child and teacher at the parade. I told the Rabbi, and he knew that I never did such a thing before, neither did he. And I said, we'll get back to the office, it's going to be a little late. I thought to myself, we'll see what we can make. I'd get my staff together and see if we can make some calls, and if not, if we couldn't reach anybody, we'll get up early Wednesday and start making calls all over the country where you can find a place that makes coins. Well, after several hours in the morning, calling companies that could make coins, the closest estimate that it could be done would be at least 30 days, 45 days. So I notified the Rebbe by memorandum. I didn't want to tell him that it can't be done. So I sent a little memo to him. And he sent it out with his handwriting that he says, well, it seems that it was my fault. The Rebbe took the blame for not being able to have the coins for the kids at the Lag BaOmer parade. And I'm to blame. I should have thought of it before. That didn't sit well with myself, and when I told it to the staff, it didn't sit well with anyone. We didn't feel that the Rebbe should be blamed for something that nobody, it was his idea in the first place. Why did he take the blame for that shortcoming? So we sat down together, 4 or 5 of us, in my office, and we decided, I reminded myself of this business with the word by word, line by line, and at the end it'll all work out. I said, let's find out how you make coins. And we found out how you make coins. First you need some artwork for both sides of the coin, if it's different. And then you have to make a mold. The clay, it has to dry several hours, and then you can make another kind of a mold till you can make a mold, a die of metal that you can use in stamping the coin out of the raw material. So the artwork was not much of a problem. We had artists who worked on our books, and other people that we knew that could draw. The artwork was not a problem. You could have that in a half an hour. I think I have copies of the coins with me. But we had to find somebody who could make the mold. Well, we found somebody in Greenwich Village who makes molds. Never saw him before, never saw him since. But we got a mold made. Within a day, it was dry. We had it ready, and it went from one process to the next. And we had all the parts together. The only problem was, it was late Wednesday. Sunday is a few days away, just hours away, and we would never let any one of the manufacturers in producing this coin work on Shabbat. Not Friday night, not Shabbos. So we had limited hours left. And we had to find a gentleman, a place, a factory where they could stamp it. And we found one. And I told the fellow that we don't want you to work on Shabbos. And he says, I guarantee you, if it gets to me at this and this time, I will deliver to you Sunday morning 10,000 coins. That's what happened. It might show you blatantly the spirit of Chabad, the spirit of Lubavitch. When the Rebbe said to do something, it gets done. Sometimes we ourselves, and I can speak for thousands of shluchim and shluchas and the children around the world, 90 countries now. I would say that Mr. Cooper mentioned before, and he correctly so. Chabad Lubavitch today is the largest Jewish organization in the world. We are in more places than anybody else. We have more people than anybody else. I'm proud to stand here and tell you that it's not stopping to grow. There are young couples who never saw the Rebbe in their lives, too young. And they have that inspiration, that spirit, as if they would come out of the Rebbe's office with instructions to go here, go there, and do this and do that. It's growing for some inexplicable reason. There's no rationale to it. I don't think anybody else, any other organization, Jewish, can do that. But Chabad is growing every day. I want to conclude with a short story of another experience with the Rebbe. Forward to 1992. In 1992, beginning from January or February, we were preparing for to celebrate the Rebbe's 90th birthday. And reporters of all nature, of all media, types of media, were swarming throughout Crown Heights to get a glimpse of the Rebbe, a photo of the Rebbe, find out what makes him tick, what does he do, what does he teach, how the Lubavitch functions. And I don't know, maybe some of you know that every Sunday afternoon, from 1984 to 1992, the Rebbe would stand outside of his office door in front of the elevator in the lobby as you enter the headquarters and give a crisp new dollar bill to people. There were thousands of people who line up every Sunday from 12 till about possibly 5, 6 in the afternoon and walk by the Rebbe, who would give each one a crisp new paper dollar. We used to get, we found out that the Federal Reserve Bank in New York, there you can obtain new dollar bills, $16,000 in a sack, and packages of 100 each. And we had to go there every 2 weeks. They delivered to us every 2 weeks these sacks of new dollar bills. The Rebbe would stand and give out dollars to the people going by. Maybe some of you have experienced that wonderful experience, and maybe not. And people just spend a second or less with the Rebbe going by. You couldn't stop the line. Sometimes people would stop and ask for a blessing. The Rebbe he received everyone with a smile and a bracha v'atzlacha, a blessing for all good things. And people never forgot that split-second association with the Rebbe. It's incredible how that second lives with them to this day in eternity. There's a lot to say about that, but I want to fast forward. And some of the journalists who were planning to write a story about the Rebbe for his 90th birthday, which was 4 days before Pesach, Yud Aleph Nissen, went in the line for dollars. Some of them tried to ask the Rebbe something, and he responded. It was one of the last weeks that the Rebbe gave out dollars before his terrible stroke at Ohel in March 2. A journalist went by the Rebbe. He says, it was late, it was about 7 o'clock, it was the end of the line. He purposely waited at the end of the line so he should have maybe a few seconds longer than everybody else. He asked the Rebbe, he says, tell me, Rebbe, I'm doing a story about you, and I want to know what do you think what is the significance of 90? So the Rebbe, without any hesitation, he says, in the Hebrew alphabet, every letter has a numeric value. The number for 90 is tzaddik. The letter for the number 90 is tzaddik. Tzaddik means righteousness. Even after you become 90 years old, you realize that you have to become more religious. What was enough for yesterday is not enough for today. And what is enough for today is not, and today we have to prepare for a better tomorrow. That was an ingenious poetry. And it occurred to us later, when the events happened subsequent to this, one of the last Sundays that the Rebbe gave dollars, that the Rebbe was saying something to all of us. when he said, prepare today for a better tomorrow. We are now in that tomorrow. This is the tomorrow. And I say with all my heart, this Chabad house, which is one of thousands of Chabad houses, larger or smaller, but everyone with the same intention, with the same heart-driven shluchim and shluchis and children. I sit in an ivory tower and I watch the growth of the numbers of the Chabad houses and the shluchim as they go in the shluchim. It is God's gift to humanity. The Rebbe created an institution called shluchos that never existed before in Jewish history, since Matan Torah, which we will celebrate next Monday into Sunday and Monday. And I want to offer my prayers to each and every one of you that you should continue to build this Chabad house. As mentioned before, they call it gold, that it be gold, 50th anniversary. But Al B'yis Mashiach Tzidkenu, and God should bless you and your children with nachas and hatzlocha and bracha and good health and everything you wish for yourselves. And as the Rebbe would wish Jewish people before Shavuos, you should all be blessed with Kabbalah Satera, with Simcha, with B'primius.